Great. Jesus, thanks for joining me here today. It's been great to work with you, and we look forward to continuing to work with you on this important search for Aim High. In this video, I just wanted to spend a few minutes getting to know a bit about you and letting folks hear about your background and really just what motivates you and understanding a little bit about their potential future partner as because this role will be working really closely with the CEO and to learn about sort of your experience and sort of passions for education and educational transformation. I think would be really important here. So just want to begin by letting you just introduce yourself and talk a bit about your trajectory as both a learner and ultimately becoming and motivated to work in the field of education.
Thanks for having me, Gabe. Great to be here. There's three things you need to know about me. So the first thing is I get to say I'm straight out of Compton. I was born and raised in Compton. However, I lived all over California. I lived in over 13 cities. And although I did not have the privilege of attending Aim High, I like to say I'm an Aim High kid. I am the first person in my family to graduate from a four-year university, like many of our kiddos, like many of our staff. And this is important, not only because going to college gave me personally a ton of more opportunities in life, but it changed the trajectory of many of my family members. And what I mean by that, when I got to college, when I achieved that success, I was able to go back to my cousins, to my cousin Julio, my cousin Dennis, and my cousin Priscilla, and said, "Hey, here's how I filled out the FAFSA. Here are the courses that I took." And then they started applying the different models that I gave them. And one by one, they started getting into UC Merced, UC Riverside, UC Berkeley. And that was transformational. I witnessed firsthand the power of education. The second thing you need to know about me is immediately after graduating from UC Berkeley, I decided to join the teaching profession. I was a Teach for America 2013 core member. And what led me to join the profession was the realization the hard truth that some people in this nation are set up to achieve their full potential. And there are systems that support with that. And there are some other people that are not set up to achieve their full potential. And when I started reflecting on my own path, on my own educational trajectory, I came face to face with a really hard question, which was, why was I in a graduating class of 1,000 high school students, a handful of Latino and Black students that graduated and moved on to a four-year university? So one of the few Latinos to be able to do that. And that was infuriating because my friends and my cousins who were at high school were equally talented and probably even more intellectual than I was. And yet they did not achieve what they wanted. And as I started investigating, I realized, there's something going on here, and that's a problem that I want to solve. If I believe in democracy, if I believe in freedom for everybody, if I believe in equity, a system of education grounded in equity, I want to work towards building that. So I joined the teaching profession. I ended up at a beautiful school by the name of Lincoln Elementary, which is located in the heart of the Iron Triangle in Richmond, right across the bridge from San Rafael. And I thought I was going to be there for 2 years. I thought I was going to teach and be successful, and probably I was going to go apply for an MBA and do something different. But I fell in love with that community. And I stayed there for 9 years. And here's what got me to stay. I experienced the power of a counter narrative. I got to Lincoln and everybody told me it's going to be hard. You're not going to achieve the level of success you think you are. And they were right, not immediately. But after the 5th year, we were doing some phenomenal stuff at Lincoln. We were outperforming schools in the hills. We were being visited by our superintendent because they were so impressed with what they saw. And in fact, they were so impressed that they made a video about what we were doing. And they shared it with the rest of the community. And other schools in our neighborhood started becoming interested in what we were doing and how to replicate that success. And so here's the third thing that you need to know about me. I've been with Aim High for 10 years. 10 summers. And it all started during my first year of teaching with one question. And that is, what are you going to be doing during the summer? As I was asking every student in our community circle in my classroom, they all said the same thing. I'm going to be playing Minecraft. I'm going to be eating a big bag of Takis and drinking some Coke or some Pepsi. The debate still goes on. But that really scared me as a teacher because I'm well versed with the impact of the summer slide on the educational outcomes of kids from my background. And I committed myself to expanding summer learning opportunities for students in my community. And I did some research on which program was the best. And by far, when it came to student outcomes and when it came to staff training, Aim High came on top. And that's what brought me to the program. And that's what compelled me, pushed me to share this program, not just in the Bay Area, but try to share it with the world.
That's a great introduction. And I guess when I hear that, I can imagine, if not visualize, there's a flame inside you. I can just tell. And I guess the question I would ask next is talk about that flame and sort of what aspects about it. What I mean by that is, for some people who might describe the story you just told and the injustices that you experienced and observed, that flame might be about, anger or driven for like immediate change. And others might say, find a way for that flame to turn very positive and see opportunities and recognize there's a long view, or, we have to influence. So just, I'm very curious to know about your motivation, your flame, when it comes to educational change. And what is your mindset as you set out on a course to lead this organization and just the impact of educational transformation? Do you take the long view, the short view? Is there positivity? Is there anger? Is there a combination thereof? Frustration, excitement? Tell us more.
For me, it really boils down to my unshakable belief in that when you provide students, regardless of their background, with the right educational opportunities, they will achieve their full potential. I believe that not just because of my own educational journey, but because what I've witnessed with my own eyes. I went to a school, I taught at a school where people said it's just not going to happen. Those kids, you're just not going to get them to read at grade level. They said that about Gerardo, they said that about Ramon. And when I would tell people, hey, one day my kids are going to outperform kids in the hills, they're like, Jesus, it's never happened before. And yet, when the community came together, when we had a solid vision of where we were going, when we developed a robust strategy on how to get there, when we generated milestones, when we generated a robust progress monitoring system, and we started making progress, and it became addicting because it was so powerful, we started moving mountains for kids. We started proving people wrong. And for me, the greatest reward was to see my students' eyes when they achieve what they thought wasn't achievable. I remember Gerardo at the beginning of the year saying, Mr. Galindo, I know what you're going to try to do. You're going to try to get me to read, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's just not going to happen. And I said, okay, Gerardo, all I want you to do is just give it a try. Just give me your best shot. And so I recorded a video of him trying to decode a book. And he was right. He really struggled. But by the end, Gabe, he was reading so fluently. And I remember we were sitting in a kidney-shaped table, the ones you're used to seeing in first grade. And he was reading. He was reading fluently, and he was understanding what he was reading. And that, for me, is what it's all about. It's this counter narrative. It's creating this story that people don't think it's possible. But when we achieve that story, not only are the people who experienced it free, but the people who witnessed it are more free because of it. And for me, that's what Aim High is all about. It's about creating these stories that expand the spheres of freedom and justice, not just for the recipients of the services we offer, but of everybody involved in the process, whether you're a funder, you're a volunteer, you're a lead teacher, like you get to witness it, and it changes the paradigm of what kids from marginalized communities are capable of achieving.
I want to allow you to be a little vulnerable and connect back to your initial story of having been in many different schools and having moved around. And I'm sure you experienced a moment where maybe you felt stymied or marginalized, or the system was not set up to help you succeed. And talk about how that has either influenced you today, or kind of what you carry with that as you have been able to push beyond that, and what does that have an influence in how you lead and how you go about trying to affect broader change, knowing that this is something that you personally experienced?
Yeah, so my experience, my experiences have done two really powerful things for me. The first one, they've helped me identify my core values, what I stand for, what I want to see. And then the second thing, after helping me identify, helping me, even at a granular level, show me what can happen when I commit to living a life where my actions are aligned to those values. One of the values is community. I am a student who really struggled, despite what you might think of in my interactions. People usually think when I tell them where I went to college, they're like, "You must have been a great student your whole life." That is far from true. I really struggled in elementary school, and I really struggled in middle school. Actually, in seventh grade, I almost flunked out of middle school. My GPA, I think, was less than a 2.0. But here's what got me on a different track. Here's what helped me turn it around. It was my community. It was reaching out to my cousins and reaching out to my uncle, reaching out to my teachers, and trying to figure out what is it that I wanted out of life. And what it really came down to me was I wanted to help my family. That's the reason why I worked so hard in school, because I had a teacher, Miss Wynn. I had a teacher, Mr. Dela Cruz, who said, "Look, Asus, you don't care about the content, but I know you care about your family, and I just need you to trust me. If you do well in school, you'll have more opportunities, and you'll be able to share those opportunities with your family." And they got me, Gabe. They got me. I said, "Okay, I can't see where I'm going, but I trust you because you invested time to build a strong relationship with me. You spoke to my heart and not just my mind." The second thing is I learned through my experiences that there's really nothing that a group of committed, passionate people with a clear direction of where they're going, there's nothing they can't do. And so I also value teamwork. I value solidarity. I value working across different departments, people with different philosophical ideologies. I think that not only is that intellectually stimulating for me, but also it's the best way to solve difficult problems. And I witnessed that over and over again in my own life. What we did at Lincoln Elementary would not have happened if we did not engage, collaborate with different stakeholders, with guardians, with instructional coaches, with first grade teachers collaborating with sixth grade teachers, thinking about, all right, what can I do in first grade? So by the time they get to you, they're well prepared. And when we started talking across different grade levels, from kinder to sixth grade, we started talking about field experts in different fields. That's when we experienced a real magic. And that ended up impacting our kids in really powerful ways. And the last value I want to highlight is I learned that like a life that's well lived is one where you are testing your limits, where you are really setting yourself up to create counter narratives, to create those stories that people just don't think it's possible, where they think it's going to be too hard, or it's just, it's going to take too long. I think those are the stories that for me are the most interesting. When people talk about, Jesus, it's too difficult to be in the education space right now. Look at the attrition levels, look at the proficiency levels, look at the funding. We're divided as a nation. Like, it's just not the right space. And I think that compels me to be in it even more. Because if we can do it in places like Lincoln, if we can do it for our kids, there is no excuse to do it for other kids in other communities. We owe it to them. And I think we also owe it to our democratic principles.
That's well said. Final question just about you and kind of your style as the leader. My sense is that you are very much driven by relationships and by people and connections, and just talk about that and anything else that would really, give someone an insight into how you lead, and how you like to work with others and how you connect these missions and these goals to reality, and what for you is going to be the right sort of style of both leadership and collaboration.
Yeah, so I recently conducted a staff survey where it was an anonymous staff survey that was filled out by all 22 of our staff members, and it was meant to capture how people were experiencing my leadership. And I'm just going to give you a high-level overview of what they said. My leadership style tends to be one that has the key components of a service-oriented leadership. So what I really try to do is I try to find a North Star. I try to find goals that everybody believes are compelling. And I try to lock my arms and say, okay, if that's where we're going, where are we right now? And based on your expertise, what do you think is going to take for us to get there? I subscribe to, so that there's this leadership model called, I believe it's adaptive, the adaptive leadership model. It has 4 quadrants. And so what I really try to do is figure out, where are they in terms of their leadership? Is this someone that I can just delegate something and they're just going to be able to do it? Are they someone who needs a little more support? And so I try to create the environment in order to figure that out. But I tend to lean towards the 4th quadrant, which is delegating. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to give you these responsibilities. Let me know what you need from me. And then let's create a cadence so we can check in. But I trust you. Go for it. The other thing I try to do, and I actually just finished a meeting. I was talking to our new grant manager. I try to encourage creating the discourse where innovation can be born. And what I mean by that is like, okay, we did that. What went well? And what can we improve? And how do we improve it? If you're telling me there is an AI resource that could help us write grants more efficiently, let's explore it. Let's do a cost benefit analysis. Let's focus on the ROI. And if there's a trial run, let's do it. I think the last thing I'll say in regards to my leadership style, I am very data driven. I don't need all the data. I've read a lot of books on like, how much data do you need to make good decisions? It's typically about 25 to 30%. Like, you don't actually need that much data, but I want to know what the metrics are. I want to know what metrics we're using to assess our success, but more importantly, to figure out if we're on the right track. Because as a school teacher, I learned success is not linear, right? Like, what works for one student might not work for the other student. So you have to really develop the mindset to tinker and to explore and to be data driven in order to meet the needs of all kiddos.
That's great. Appreciate that. Appreciate your time today, Jesus. We look forward to working with you on this search, and thanks so much for sharing some insights about your background, your passion for educational change, and your styles of leadership and what drives you. Really, thank you so much.
Yeah, grateful for the time, and I'm here if you need anything else.
Excellent. Thank you.